Hey everyone, it's Mo, and thanks for tuning back in to One Mo Kidney. Today, I wanted to talk about the story of my diagnosis and how I actually found out I was in kidney failure, since I think it's kind of a crazy, a little unique story. Just like a very sudden diagnosis from being totally healthy, so I thought it'd be interesting to share. So it started in late 2017, halfway through my sophomore year in college. When winter break came along, I was scheduled to get my wisdom teeth taken out. Just something normal procedure. So I went on that first Monday of break to the orthodontist, and everything was going great. I was set up actually, even I had the IV already in my arm, just waiting to be sedated and then get them removed. When actually I still remember the facial expression to this day. The doctor came in with super wide eyes, and he looked almost scared, so I was a little off put, and then he told me, your blood pressure is super high, like we're not going to be able to do this procedure, like please just get it checked out and hopefully it's nothing, and then we'll go from there. So I was bummed out because I was a super healthy kid back then, and I was like, I have high blood pressure, like how? I was like, dang, like I'm gonna have to go on medication. Like, that was my biggest worries at the time. But little did I know what would transpire soon. So the next day I went to the family doctors and we did some blood work. And that went fine. And then I went through the day, normal day. And I remember about 9 o'clock that night, we got a phone call. After dinner, we were all sitting in the family room, me, my siblings, and my parents, just watching TV, watching the news. And then I remember my dad heard the phone call and got up and got it. And it was a little strange because we never get phone calls like that late at night. And then he came back after like a minute, 90 seconds of talking. And then he asked my mom to come towards him. And at that point I knew something maybe was a little weird going on. And then all of a sudden, after he talked with my mom, she just came over, I remember, and just hugged me tight. And it was strange because she wasn't saying anything. So again, I was still not really knowing what's going on. My dad just told me, get dressed. We got to go to the doctors. We got to go to the hospital right away, the emergency room. And I was, again, like, it's blood pressure, dude. Like, no, like, what are you talking about? He's like, no. They want to be safe. It's precaution, just they want to do tests and be safe. And I was like, okay. So I remember we went to the local hospital. For those in Cincinnati, it's the Westchester branch of the UC Health Hospitals. So we went that night, and I remember still no one was really telling me anything. I remember we spent a few hours there, getting tests and all that sort of stuff. And one thing, I don't know, my memory from that night seems to be like super clear. I still remember a lot of it. I just remember the super nice nurse who was so kind to me. And he was, I don't know if he was allowed to tell me anything yet because they wanted to be sure before they told me. But he made it kind of really easy and comfortable to be worried. A side story to that, I remember I had an interview the next morning. And by that time, it was maybe 1 a.m. in the hospital, and I was still in the bed. I was like, do you think I can make the interview soon? And the nurse was like, what time is it? I was like, 9 a.m. And he's like, you might want to ask if you can delay it, So then I remember emailing the recruiter at like 2 a.m. and just saying, I'm in the hospital right now. We're not sure what's going on, but I don't think I'm going to get out. Just looking back, that's probably just something, I'm curious to see what he was thinking back then. But anyways, it started rolling around 2 a.m. and then finally by 3 a.m. they told me, we're still not 100%, but we think something's wrong with your kidneys and we won't be able to treat it here. So they're like, we're gonna have to transfer you over to downtown to the Clifton branch of UC Health, which is right by where I go to school. So at that point I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah. So I remember I got to go back home. Actually, they gave me the choice of taking the ambulance or having my dad drive me. We chose to have my dad drive me so I can go home and get my charger and a change of clothes, because they told us, you know, we're not sure how long you're going to be staying in the hospital. So I went home. We told my family. They were still up, nervous, and just, I remember again just hugging my mom super closely and telling her, you know, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure this out. And, you know, strangely though, I don't think I was really that scared or anything at this point. You know, I know my parents were sort of freaking out because that's something they do, and I felt like, you know, at least for me, it was important to be strong in that moment for them. You know, if at least if regardless of how I'm feeling inside, if like, you know, I'm strong on the outside for them, they'll be strong for my siblings and everyone else. So that was important for me to do. So I was just, you know, I was actually pretty calm throughout the whole thing. Um, so I remember we then went to the hospital at 3 a.m. And just literally, we got a bed probably around 4. And then I was up the whole night because, again, no one was telling me anything. You know, you had people coming in, drawing blood, checking vitals every hour or whatever increment it was. And then that morning, Dr. Soleimani, I think was his name, super smart guy. I remember him telling us he only does rounds 2 weeks out of the year. So we were lucky that we got him for one of the weeks he was rounding for patients. But he was the one who broke the news, you know, Muhammad, like, sit down, like, we have to tell you something, and it's gonna change your life, so I want you to be ready for it. And then, so I was like, yeah, like, it's fine. So he told me, he's like, you're in kidney failure. We're not sure how bad it is yet, but we're gonna wanna probably put you on dialysis soon. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, because truthfully, I didn't know what that meant at all. I didn't know what kidney failure meant. What I remember texting one of my friends, like, they said I might do dialysis, whatever that is, but I'll probably do a video soon about dialysis and my experiences with that. So at that point, I was still kind of calm. I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. But then quickly, we found out that one of my kidneys was actually totally kaput, like nothing, no function at all, and the other was operating at less than 5%. So that meant I was in total, you know, end-stage renal failure, and I needed immediate dialysis. And at that point, they actually told us, you know, dialysis isn't a forever solution. It's only a temporary, you know, treatment. The best treatment available for kidney failure is going to be transplant. So that was the first time we heard transplant. And I remember we, like, my parents were like super scared of the word, and they didn't want to hear it at all. But again, like, you know, at that time I was kind of like, just something, you know, got to get through it. A lot of this, you know, a lot of it didn't hit me until a little later on. Yeah. So in a crazy sort of way, I guess, when I'm looking back, I can kind of tell myself, you know, my wisdom teeth is actually what saved my life. Because if I never went to get my wisdom teeth taken out, I would never have known I had high blood pressure, which was one of the big signs, you know, that I was in kidney failure, and I never would have gotten my blood checked. So I guess big thanks to my wisdom teeth. So yeah, anyway, that's, I guess, my story of me finding out I was in kidney failure. So it's a little different than a lot of the stories, you know, I've heard of other people. They've had like kidney disease, or known they've had like scarring, and then, you know, they do their best to prolong their original kidneys for as long as possible. But for me, it kind of happened like all of a sudden. Like, I went from feeling totally healthy to, you know, my whole life being flipped upside down out of nowhere. So yeah, I'm gonna follow this up with probably my experiences on dialysis, and then on the transplant wait list, and looking for a living donor, and my transplant experience, and kind of round out that whole the whole story of me getting diagnosed and all of that. So thank you for watching. Appreciate it if you've made it this far, and stay tuned. Peace.